fellow diamond painting addicts, and welcome back to Diamond Painting Anonymous. I'm Daphne, and I'm here for what looks like another whip and chat, which I guess, again, it sort of is. But this is going to be me working on this kit while I answer all of your Ask Me Anything questions. So I had tons of you leave me some really great questions. Some more duplicates, and that's okay. So let me zoom in to where I'm going to be working. You can watch on the screen or just listen, whatever you want to do. Work along while I work. Take me along on your commute, however this works best for you. And I'm going to zoom in and we'll get started with answering all of your questions. Don't go anywhere. As you can see, I've made some pretty good progress on this kit, so I am happy about that. Let me just jump in. These are in no particular order, just the order that I came across them. And I'll try to say who asked them, because I did try to remember to write that down as well. There were some duplicates, like I said, so if I answer your question when I answer somebody else's question, I'm not going to answer it again, obviously. So let's get into it. So Mona asked several questions. The first one of which was, what was my favorite and my worst diamond painting? Answering my favorite is harder than I thought it would be. I have lots of kits that I really enjoyed. Like, I really enjoyed doing the Daphne one. I really enjoyed doing the Marvin the Martian one. I love doing the Jetsons one. But if I can only pick one favorite, and I don't even know if I can do that. I picked out two that I was like, maybe I'll decide by the time I talk about this which one is my favorite, and I still haven't decided. I have lots of them that I really enjoyed doing. I guess I'll say my second favorite was the Christmas gnomes from Diamond Art Club. I ended up giving that one to my sister as a Christmas gift. She really loves gnomes, and she has a lot of them as Christmas decorations, so I made that one for her, and she absolutely loved it, and I had a good time making it for her. But for me, and this is probably going to be a shock, it's actually from a budget company, and it's kind of big. I want to say it's like 70 by 50 or something like that. I don't even know that it has a specific name. I call it a geometric one, and I'll try to find a picture of it and stick it up on the screen. Well, I guess I can just go take a picture. It's actually one I framed, and it matches, well, it did match the quilt on our bed. So it's hanging above our bed. I really love it because it's just a geometric form, but I love the colors in it. It's like very calming and soothing colors that we had in our bedroom. We have since bought a larger bed, and so we had to get new bedding and stuff, so it doesn't match as well as it used to, but I still love the painting. It's kind of very geometric and abstract. I liked it enough that it made it all the way to Canada with me, and a lot of the other ones didn't. Leave me a comment and let me know if that was the one you thought I would say, or if there is a different one that you thought I would say. I'm thinking of one in particular that I probably could have said was my favorite, but it really isn't. So, I mean, I enjoyed doing it, but it wasn't an absolute favorite. I guess I'll put it that way. So that was my favorite diamond painting. My worst one? The worst one that leaps to mind is from a company, a budget company that I don't even think exists anymore. It was one that I did for the first summer that they did Summer with the Masters. Of course, you guys know that I'm in love with Muka's art, and so I found this painting at this budget company. I want to say it was like shipping from Australia, but I don't even remember if that's true. The painting, the image was nice, loved the image, obviously, but the drills on it were so terrible. They were super gappy. They were very trashy. It was just a horrible experience all the way around, and I was still fairly new to diamond painting at the time. I don't even know if I had the channel yet. Maybe, maybe not. But it was like one of the first events that I decided to participate in. So I really wanted to finish it. So I forced myself to get all the way through it. But oh my gosh, it was such a disappointment when it was done. It looked terrible. Yeah, it was just a disappointment all the way around. So that was probably my worst one. My favorite things to diamond paint, Mona also asked. I don't know if I have a favorite thing per se. I just like colorful things. So I tend to diamond paint a lot of like cartoony type stuff because that tends to be more colorful than some other things. But I've also diamond painted some realistic things, figures and stuff like that. So I guess for me, it's more about the image than the thing. Like, I like stuff that has animals. I love anything that has like mystical creatures like unicorns, dragons, that sort of stuff. Anything that's kind of cutesy, kawaii, I like. But I don't know that there's anything specific that I was like, oh, if they have, a cat, I have to buy it or something like that. That just isn't how my brain works when I look at stuff. I typically shop for diamond paintings by just kind of scrolling through all of the images. And if I pass an image that I kind of go, wait, what? And I have to go back and look at it, that's a diamond painting image that I might get. And I generally, so yeah, I don't know that I have anything specific that I'm like, oh, if there's a diamond painting of that. I mean, there are a few things, like when the Jetsons came out, I was like, oh, I would love that. But I had wished it had Rosie the Riveter in it. So it wasn't exactly perfect. Do you know what I mean? That sort of thing. Maybe my taste is just eclectic. I don't know. But I like for this kit, I don't tend to buy a lot of florals. So that's the reason I bought this one, because I was like, well, I never buy these. And this one made me do a double take. So maybe that's a sign I should try this one. And I've really been enjoying it so far, even though it is quite a bit of confetti. Okay. And then Mona's last question was my favorite artist. I don't know that I have one of those either. I mean, I have several artists that I really, really like. I've probably bought more Spangler kits than anything else, but that could also be a function of they make a lot of Spangler kits, so his are pretty easy to get a hold of. But I don't have anybody else that I'm like, oh, if they make a kit, I'm definitely going to buy it, that I can think of anyway. Now, I do really like, there's an artist at Oraloa, and her name is Maria something. It's like a Slavic name. I'll put it up on the screen because I think it starts with a C, but I don't even remember off the top of my head what it is. But she's the one who did the travel posters from Oraloa that I love. So if any of you know her, let her know that I'm patiently waiting for one set in wintertime in Russia with all the onion dome buildings, because that would complete my travel posters nicely, because I've got spring, summer, and fall. I need one set in winter, but it needs to be a place one. The only other winter one I know she's done was just like some girls in the snow. It didn't have like a place necessarily. So, but I really like her style. But I could probably say that about some other artists as well. So, yeah, I don't know that I have a favorite artist necessarily. I mean, I've done a Chuck Pinson. I don't know if I'd buy another one. I've done a Dominic Davidson. Don't know if I'd buy another one. I've done two Josephine Walls. Don't know if I'd buy another one. I've done a Mandy Manzano. Don't think I would buy another one. I've done a Jasmine Beckett Griffith. Don't know if I'd buy another one of hers. I'm trying to think. There was one other one. Oh, Hannah Lynn. And again, I enjoyed all of the canvases. I just don't know if I, for various reasons, would buy another one. Anything colorful and cute is probably going to get a second look from me. But I've also done some things that weren't cute necessarily. So, yeah, it just depends on the image, I think, rather than the artist. Okay, then Sandra had some questions. Sandra asked, do I sell my diamond paintings? The answer to that is, in general, no, I do not. In a lot of cases, especially with Diamond Art Club, which I just happen to have a lot of, sealing it voids the warranty. Also, I figure if I'm going to frame it and keep it, then it's going to be behind glass or acrylic, probably acrylic because that's cheaper and lighter, but it's going to be behind that, so I don't need to seal it. If it's a square drill, then most of the glue is going to be covered up, and I generally leave washi tape on the edges, so the washi tape will cover up what's on the edges, because that's going to get covered by the frame, so you won't see it. If it's round and it's behind glass, then that should keep most things out. The only times that I have ever sealed anything, I sealed a passport holder that I was using to keep my release papers in. And because I was going to be handling a lot, I didn't want the drills to fall off the front of it where it was diamond painted. So I sealed those. I, at one point, had a wooden box that was diamond painted on the top, which is where I was keeping the larger diamond painting release papers. And so because I was going to be handling that a lot as well, I sealed it. I've sealed like a couple of bookmarks, stuff that was going to be handled. Diamond paintings, I've only sealed two that I can think of, and they were both seahorses. One was all crystal. All the drills were crystal, and it looked really good, but the drills kept popping, so I sealed it because I was afraid they were going to keep popping off. And the other seahorse was one that had special drills in it, so it had like some really big pearls as well as some other specialty drills being stored even in a portfolio. I was afraid they were going to get knocked around and maybe knocked off, so I sealed those. But 99% of the time, I don't bother. If it's just going to go in a portfolio or frame, then it's out of the elements essentially, and it's going to be fine just laying flat in a portfolio. So I don't need to seal it. Your mileage may vary. I don't know where everybody else does with their diamond painting, so maybe you guys have different things that you do with yours. And then the second question, the follow-up question was, if I seal it, what do I seal it with? There are a ton of different ways that you can seal it. So when I first decided to seal something, I actually had gone out and purchased, it was called Crystal Art Sealer, I believe, and it was from a company in the UK. I bought it on Amazon, and I want to say it took like a week or so to arrive, but it was just a little white jar, and it said it was made specifically for sealing crystal art projects. So, and it worked fine. It was like a milky white, and it dried clear, and it worked. I used the crystal art sealer, that worked fine. Just brush it on lightly, it dried clear, and it worked. It kept everything in place. The other thing I used was just Mod Podge. I had seen lots of people saying, oh, it dulls the shine. I diluted mine down with some water. It's like a 1-to-1 ratio, so it was pretty thin. With both sealers that I used, I would brush it on with a brush, and then I would go over the tops of the drills with like a baby wipe or something to wipe off any glue off the top of the drill so that I could be sure I wasn't going to be dulling the shine of anything. But the sealers both dried transparent, so as long as there wasn't any film on top of the drills, then you couldn't even tell that I had sealed it. And I kept one of the seahorses that I had sealed for quite some time. I mean, I want to say I kept it for 4 years. I think I finally got rid of it right before the move, and nothing had yellowed. Now, it was in a portfolio, so it wasn't out in the sun, but you know, sometimes glues can turn yellow over time, and it still looked as good as it did the day that I sealed it. But again, you just kind of have to test things out for yourself. What I'm like and what I'm okay with might be something that you aren't. Like for me, the possibility that the drills might be dull was not a huge deal. I just wiped over the top of them with a baby wipe and called it good. Maybe your tastes are a little more discerning, I don't know. But I had good luck with both the Crystal Art Sealer and the Mod Podge. Okay, then Margie had some questions. Marjorie asked my favorite size of painting. And I have to say, I don't know if I have a favorite size. I think I'm just going to say mid-range because I don't have a specific size that I purchase. Again, it's usually more the image. If anything, especially when I first started out buying, size was generally an afterthought, something I didn't even really pay that much attention to. But now that I've been doing this for a while and I have lots of large diamond paintings left over in my stash from those FOMO years, I think these days I would say that mid-range is probably my preferred size. I think for a lot of the things that I like to do, 30 by 30, 30 by 40 is too small. Even 40 by 50 in some cases is too small. I like working on things that have confetti, so they need to be bigger than that. But I also probably wouldn't turn a painting down solely based on size. But I think something in the 50 by 60, 60 by 70 range is probably kind of my sweet spot. I have done kits that are much larger than that, but I don't want them to be too big because that makes it hard for me to move it to different places. But I also don't want them to be so small that there's no detail when I'm done painting them. while finishing something quickly is fun sometimes, as much as I complain about working on larger kits, I do enjoy working on the larger ones and actually spend some time working with the image and seeing it all come together, which is not something necessarily that you get when you work on smaller paintings. Also, a lot of smaller paintings tend to have a central figure and then a lot of color blocking in the background, and I don't like color blocking, especially if it's a lot of white, because no matter what you do, getting white drills to look perfectly straight is near impossible unless you're using a ruler or something. Margie also asked what my favorite theme was, which I guess is sort of along the same lines as my favorite thing to diamond paint. I don't know if I have a favorite theme, like I said. I think it just depends on what it is. I guess my theme would be cute, but it has to be something I consider cute, right? And not my idea of cute may not be everybody else's idea of cute. And sometimes I just want things for weird reasons. Like I wanted, when I did my Jasmine Beckett Griffith, I did the Lenore one, and that was because I like Edgar Allan Poe. It didn't really have anything to do with the style of the image. It had more to do with the subject matter of the image, if that makes sense. And some of the artists that I've done, like I've said, like with Chuck Pinson, okay, I did it to participate in the Chuck Along one year, and I was like, okay, check that off, I've done that. I mean, I really enjoyed the painting. I did his Vibrant Italy, and I thought it was awesome. But would I do another one? Probably not, just because he does a lot of landscapes, and it has to be something pretty special for me to do the landscape. Pretty bright and colorful, which is why I liked Vibrant Italy. But a lot of his are just like browns and greens and nature colors because they're landscapes. Again, not my favorite thing to do because I prefer things that are more colorful, which is kind of funny because I like colorful diamond paintings. Maybe that's why most of my wardrobe is dark colors, grays, blacks, whites. Now that I think about it, maybe that's why. So I get my color on my walls, my blankets, my diamond paintings, that sort of thing. Moving on, Cat Granny wanted to know how my husband and I met. We met online. We were both playing the same game and we started talking to each other. We kind of had the same things going on in our lives at the same time. So we were kind of a support system for each other. Just we were kind of long distance friends. And then we decided, after talking on the phone and texting, and we'd done video calls and things like that, we decided we would meet each other in person. Anyway, that's how we met. And then after meeting up in person, we decided that we liked each other. Started the process of him moving to the States. We got married, and the rest is history. All right, then Kay Anderson, not sure what the K stands for, it just says Kay Anderson, had a couple of questions about completed diamond paintings. She wants to know, is there a market for selling completed pictures? I'm going to give my answer, and if you guys have a different answer, feel free to share in the comments. I have not found there to be a real market for completed diamond paintings. Most of the people who are interested in diamond painting are doing it themselves. I have seen people trying to sell them on places like Etsy and that sort of thing, but I've never seen one actually sell. I mean, that doesn't mean it hasn't happened. I know I have heard from some people who do commission paintings where essentially they buy a painting and then they do the work of completing it and give it to someone to hang in their house, and that person pays them for completing it. I'm going to assume they live in a much bigger city than any I've ever lived in, because I have not found that to be true. Most of the people I know would look at it and go, well, I could do that myself and pay a lot less because I'm not paying for your time. Of course, that depends on how much you want to charge. If you're just looking to make back what you paid for the kit or even less, maybe there would be a market. I don't know. I mean, I would love for there to be a market for that sort of thing, but like I said, most people who are interested in it are interested in actually doing the diamond painting themselves, at least in my experience. So I haven't found there to be much of a market. But like I said, if any of you know differently, please share in the comments. Okay, and then she also asked if there, and she, it could be a he, I don't know. They asked, what places can you donate them to? And I'm going to assume again that probably depends on where you live. If you live in a bigger city, you might have options that the rest of us don't, or many of us don't, I guess I should say. But I have been told by other people that they have donated to schools for like teachers to hang in classrooms, that sort of thing. Of course, depends on what the image is of, as always. I have heard of people donating them to care homes, like nursing homes where maybe they don't have a lot of artwork and stuff, and maybe they would be glad to have something like that. Hospice care, possibly, hospitals, doctors' offices. So I think you just have to kind of get inventive, see who you know, and if anybody has any ideas for you in the area where you are. And again, if any of the rest of you have any different ideas about places to donate, please share in the comments. I am certainly not the be all end all font of knowledge when it comes to diamond painting. I just do what I like. So that's what I know is what I like. Next one. These questions are from Hamilton Chicky. Questions. What do I like best about Canada? I still don't think I've been here long enough to kind of say for certain what's my favorite thing. It's been a long transition process and I don't think I'm finished yet. But that being said, I think so far the thing that I appreciate most is that nobody seems to really be in a hurry or upset about much. I mean, yes, people complain, but it's generally with a, oh, eventually it will work out. They're not bothered by waiting, which is kind of strange coming from America because in America it seems like everything has to be done right now. Everything is an emergency some days, it feels like, whether that's at work or whatever. And it just isn't like that here, which is kind of a nice change. It can be frustrating at times because there are times when I'm like, but I need to know for my sanity, I need this to happen more quickly and it just doesn't. So it's been an exercise in patience for me as well. But I like to think that I'm learning that, and it's really pretty here. I think that's a secondary thing for me is I grew up in a place where it's very flat, it's all farmland, there's really no water to speak of. So being close to a bay where I can see big ocean going ships, lobster boats and other kind of inshore boats doing their thing, and just being close to the water and hearing and seeing the seagulls and that sort of thing is crazy to me still because it's just not something I would ever see in Kansas. Then, what do I miss most from the US? And I gotta say, the thing I miss the most is my family. I lived there my entire life. Everybody was close. My sister and my brother and their families still lived there. My parents were there when they were alive. I mean, we all lived within probably a 50-mile radius of each other. So we saw each other on every holiday, every birthday. Things changed a bit after my parents died, but we tried to still get together on holidays and birthdays. Not as often as we did before, but 3 or 4 times a year we would all get together. And I still get to see them in that we do video calls and stuff. I called them at Christmas. I talked to my daughter on Mother's Day, that sort of thing. And video calls are nice when I can't afford to travel 2,000 miles, but it's not the same. It's better than nothing, but it's not the same. So that's the thing I miss the most is my daughter and the rest of my family. Ray Allison, I think is how I says it's spelled, or the name. So her questions were, where do I live? Well, I live in Canada now. I used to live in Kansas. We live in the Maritimes, specifically in the province of New Brunswick. I want to try and travel to all of the different provinces and territories. We've already made a visit to PEI. Technically, I've been to Quebec because we flew into Montreal on one of our visits. After hubby and I were married, we flew up here to visit his family. The kids and I came with him, and we landed in Montreal and then drove to his parents' house because the tickets were cheaper. And then another trip, we were redirected to Halifax, so technically I've been in Nova Scotia. but I definitely want to go to Newfoundland and Labrador. I definitely want to go back to Nova Scotia so we can go to Oak Island. I would love to go out to British Columbia and see that, but I definitely would like to go to like the Northwest Territories and the Yukon during the summer. I don't want to go during the winter, but who knows? I'd also like to go to Alaska and Hawaii because I've never been to either of those places. But anyway, so we live in New Brunswick. Oh, and then she wanted to know if I could share pictures of the scenery. So I'm sure I have some. I will find some and insert pictures. I have taken lots of film as hubby and I have been driving around seeing different places. We went to an aquarium. We've been to a couple of the bigger shipyards to see the bigger ships because I've never seen big ships like that before, but it is very pretty. I just find it hard to drive sometimes because I'm used to being able to see for miles and miles because of where I grew up, and around here, trees on all sides of the highway and most other roads. So there isn't a whole lot to look at other than trees and the occasional surprise piece of wildlife. Marla had the next questions. She wanted to know how I found out about my volunteer group. For those of you that don't know, I have started volunteering with a literacy group, and we help people learn to read and speak English. So I heard the ad for this on the radio. That's how I got involved. That's the short answer to that question. The other question was, have I considered doing a diamond painting demo at the library or some other place so that I could meet other diamond painters? And the answer to that is no, I had never even thought of that, but I should. That would be an awesome way to meet some new people, maybe to introduce some new people to the hobby, but also to meet some new people. So I don't know if I'll do that. So maybe once I get this new project with the conversational English stuff going and I kind of have that more under my belt and in control, then I'll think about doing something diamond painting related. But it's an idea, so I'll keep that in mind. All right, moving on. The next questions. This is from Kathy. Kathy wanted to know how and where do I store my completed kits? Well, as I talked about when I was talking about sealing, some of them I frame and hang up in my own home. I have 5 or 6 diamond paintings hanging in my house currently. Sometimes I frame them and I give them to other people. I've given several to my daughter. So I've several that I've given away, but the vast majority of them just end up in my portfolio. And this goes back to there not really being a market for completed diamond paintings. I would love it if they were. But again, it seems like most people who are interested are doing it themselves, not interested in paying someone for a completed diamond painting. So probably 85% of my diamond paintings end up stored in a portfolio somewhere. And I would guess that's true for a lot of other people, but maybe it isn't. If you do something different, let me know down below. I also complete more diamond paintings maybe than most people because I have the channel and I tend to finish diamond paintings quicker than a lot of other people. Then I may end up with more in storage because of that. But I know there's also people out there who diamond paint a lot faster than I do, and I'm not sure what they do with all of theirs. So, yeah, again, sound off in the comments. If it doesn't end up in a portfolio, what do you do with your completed ones? And again, the options may be different because you live in a bigger city or you complete less diamond paintings, so you're not having to try and figure out what to do with as many of them as maybe I am or somebody else. Next person, Kimberly. Kimberly asked, why did I move to Canada? Kind of a long story, but basically the short answer is to be closer to my husband's family. My husband is from here, like I said. He moved to the States and we lived there for 12, 13 years, something like that. A couple of years ago, hubby's dad got sick. He had already had a bout with cancer, but they also discovered once they got him off the medications that he was suffering from the early stages of dementia. So not too long after that, it got to the point where my mother-in-law could not take care of him on her own. And so he went into the hospital while they waited. They were waiting for a spot to open up in one of the veterans' homes because he was a military veteran. They waited a couple of years, and hubby and I came up and visited so that hubby could see him. We got a phone call at one point from his brother, and his brother said, we don't know how much time he has left. So at that point, hubby and I made the decision that we would move up here so that hubby could spend whatever time was left with his dad. So that's what we did. We moved up here. It was good that we moved when we did. He got basically a year with his dad. He would go in and see him several times a week. Some days he was fine and knew who everybody was. Some days the only person he knew was my mother-in-law. So we got to spend that extra year with him, which is good because right before Christmas, he started going downhill pretty rapidly and he passed away at the beginning of the year. So I'm glad we moved when we did so hubby got to spend the time he had left with his dad. And then Quinnell, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, asked, well, she asked the same question, how did hubby and I meet? I've already answered that. We met online. And then she asked, have I ever seen or been in a tornado in Kansas? Short answer is no, but I have seen tornadoes. Hubby likes to watch wild weather, and whenever there's a storm, he's always watching the storm chaser. Sometimes things make it into Kansas, but not a lot. Right before we moved a couple years ago, I don't know if you guys remember, there was a bad storm and we had a bunch of trees down and power knocked out for several days. Even though the tornado sirens went off and we were downstairs in our basement, they decided that what hit the town and our house was what they call a microburst, which basically just means that the insurance gets out of paying much because it's not a tornado, it's a microburst. So that, of course, gets different coverage under your insurance policy. I personally think it was a tornado, but not officially. So that's as close as I have come. When I was in high school or college, I think I was in college, just right out of high school into college, there was a big tornado that hit the house where I lived with my parents. Well, it didn't hit the house. Let me phrase that. It was a tornado that came up from Oklahoma and it passed within literally a block of my parents' house. My parents and my brother were home. They were in our basement, underneath the stairs, inside of a very small pantry, all three of them. My mother said it sounded like a freight train, which is what everyone says about tornadoes. I've never heard that, so I can't say. So the tornado was close enough for them to be afraid they were going to be hit by the tornado, but it actually missed the house by a block. So one of the houses in the next block from their house had been lifted up and then set back down on its foundation, but 2 inches off. So that whole house had to be rebuilt because it was no longer structurally sound. But luckily, nothing happened to my parents or my brother or their house. I mean, there was some debris flying around, but none of it hit the house. So they were very, very lucky because the tornado was huge and it went on to hit another town further east and just kind of completely decimated it. But personally, no, never. For all the years that I lived there, we had plenty of sirens, plenty of times that we went to our basement or our innermost room to take shelter from a tornado, but not any time was I actually hit by one. Nor am I aware of anyone in my family who has had anything hit by a tornado. And I do have family that still lives in Oklahoma because that's where my dad's from. So I have extended family who live there, and to my knowledge, even though Oklahoma seems like a tornado magnet, none of them have been in a tornado. So sorry, no excitement there. Although I will say, since we moved here, we have never had hail, and that's something we get a lot of in Kansas. So that has been a nice change because insurance tends to be more expensive there because if there's a thunderstorm, there's almost guaranteed to be a hailstorm accompanying it, which means lots of people's cars get damaged from the hail. So where I'm from, people tend to have basements to hide from tornadoes and also garages to hide their cars from hail, and usually multiple car garages. And then the last questions are all from Teresa. So Teresa wanted to know, when I kit down a completed project, what am I doing to store all the leftover drills? And how many storage cases do I have? I don't store the leftover drills in a storage case. I have a couple of boxes that I purchased at Hobby Lobby and turned into my spiritual storage, and I will link that video to how I made my spiritual storage up above. Many people do it differently. You can do it however makes sense to you, but I keep all of my storage free for my diamond paintings. So what kind of storage do I have? I have these two bottle cases that I just bought. There's 40 bottles in each case. I have two of those. I have two 60 bottle cases that I brought with me from the States. I have four of the little 28 1-inch cubey storage that I love. I use those a lot for smaller paintings. I'm finding I don't use them as much anymore because I've been working on much larger paintings and they have more colors, so I've not been using those. I have one Art Dot storage case that has 240 bottles. It's got 3 layers of bottles in it, and that is what I was using to store my drills for my Heaven and Earth mermaid that I haven't gotten to yet. So that's where those bottles are. I have 6 Elizabeth Ward trays that I have. And then I have one Forever Young that is the set of 60 trays with the tower storage. So I have that as well. And I think that's all the storage I have. The Forever Young and these two I acquired since we moved here. All the other ones I've purchased since we've been here. Ooh, I had a moment there of, oh no, I put these all on the wrong color, on the wrong symbol, but I didn't. Question number 2, when I travel with a bigger project, how do I transport it? I typically don't travel with big projects. I have taken small projects like 30 by 40 and little like mini gems, mini dazzles, paint gems, that sort of thing to travel with. If I know I'm going to be traveling, I don't take a very large painting. But what I typically do and have done is leave it in the box and pack it in my suitcase. With the mini gems, I would put it in like my backpack, my carry-on that I take on the plane, because I could do it on the plane. But if it's a bigger kit, I leave it in the box that it came in and I pack it in my suitcase. And then once we get wherever we're going, like to our hotel or whatever, then I will take it out, unpack it, and then leave it like on the desk in the hotel room while I'm working on it. Although you got to be careful because typically what I would do is, because you don't have a lot of room in a hotel room, I would bring clippy hangers to hang it up on and then hang it either in the closet or on one of the doors or something. One of the times that I was traveling, I forgot about the diamond painting and we left it in one of the hotel rooms. And by the time I realized I didn't have it, we were 400 miles away, so there was no going back for it at that point. But if it was a large one, what I would probably do after working on it, if we were going to be like flying back home, I would put it all back in the box, rolled up with whatever section I've worked on, and then I would put it back in my suitcase in the original box. And the drills would just get stored, whatever container they were in would get stored in my suitcase as well. And that would be if we're flying. It's going to go in a suitcase because that way I know it's generally protected. I've done that a couple of times and have gotten home with the kit no worse for wear, no drills falling off or anything like that. If we're driving, like I said, I generally just put it on clippy hangers and then it gets hung in the back seat and we take it in and out with us with the rest of our stuff whenever we stop at a hotel. But I've never taken it a big kit anywhere. Like I would never have traveled with any of my J walls or anything that big. Okay, question number 3 was, you mentioned that you started diamond painting during COVID, but you didn't mention how you found out about it. Well, kind of just by chance. I was in lockdown with everybody else during COVID. I need something to do with my time. I was reading a lot, but eventually even reading gets a bit boring. I felt like TV was rotting my brain. We've always been a crafty kind of family. I've talked before about how, as a kid, my mom was my sister's Girl Scout leader, and they did all different kinds of crafts like wood carving, wood burning, painting, ceramics. My grandma was a big ceramicist. She even had her own kiln. My mom taught me how to crochet. I did cross stitch and needlepoint. I taught myself some embroidery and crewel. So I just kind of always had something going on. However, I had given a lot of that up One, when I had kids, small kids, and I was working full time. And two, I had developed carpal tunnel. So a lot of things like my cross stitch and stuff like that, I couldn't really do anymore because it was too hard on my arm, my wrist. So I just went out and started looking for something to do. And I think I was just looking at like crafts. And I came across diamond painting. And I was like, what is diamond painting? I never heard of it before. I saw some, it was a set of mandalas with the special drills. They were partials, four special drill partial mandalas. And I thought, well, this looks really interesting. And so I thought, well, I'm going to give this a try, but I want to get something that's not too expensive because I know myself and I was like, I don't want this to be a hobby where I jump in and buy a whole bunch of stuff and then I'm like, oh, you know what? Turns out I really don't like this because I've done that before. So I just got the one set of mandalas and I just used the stuff that came with the kit and I sat down and in basically a couple of hours I had all three of them done and I was hooked. And I thought, okay, I think this is something I can stick with. So that's how I started. Next question is, the last kit I opened, I mentioned that Diamond Art Club is carrying drills that are not part of DMC numbers. How would we know this? Are they labeled as such? When I started diamond painting, all of the DMC codes, these are companies, it's numbers taken from the company that makes embroidery floss that you use when you cross stitch or embroidery. I don't know if these numbers are proprietary. What I know is at the beginning of diamond painting, there were 447 colors that they used in diamond painting that correspond to the same color as a DMC code of embroidery floss. So there were 447 colors. DMC adds colors every year as well. So I don't know if they have any in the 6,000 range. What I do know is that Diamond Art Club, and this kit is one of them, has certain 6,000 numbers. So I have 6002, 6012, and 6014. These are numbers that did not exist in the original 447. Okay, guys, that was weird. I've never had that happen before. Apparently, I was talking so much that my phone ran out of juice, so I had to wait for it to charge back up again. I'm going to try to get through the last couple of questions here. So I was talking about the 6,000 numbers. I don't know if these exist in actual DMCs or these are just new ones that Diamond Art Club has made for themselves, but I found out about them through other subscribers telling me. I think I had one other kit that had this one of these numbers in it, and that's what they said, they're new numbers from Diamond Art Club. I don't know if anybody else is using them or not, but anyway. So originally there were only the 447 numbers. Now apparently there's more. Question number 5 was, I mentioned in a video that Jess had given me the tip about using the seam ripper and she wanted to know who is Jess. Jess is another wonderful subscriber who has been diamond painting, I'm assuming, a lot longer than I have, and often offers helpful tips and tricks on the channel when I talk about something. She's the one who kind of introduced me to the tower tray method. She told me about the seam ripper. She's been helpful about lots of stuff. So she is on Instagram as Jess Diamond Paints. I don't think she has a diamond painting YouTube channel, but I know she's on Instagram. Yeah, she's just really helpful. The seam ripper trick is because I was worried about cutting all the way through my canvas with an X-Acto knife, and she mentioned that she'd seen the seam ripper trick used and passed it on. Just a super helpful subscriber, so thank you to Jess. Then her final question was, why did I move to Canada? I feel like I've already covered that, so I'm not going to cover it again. I think that's everybody's questions. Again, if you have anything to add that you think would be helpful for some of these people, please leave comments below. Did you find this interesting? Now that I've answered all those questions, is there another question you'd like to ask? Leave me a comment and let me know. I was joking with my husband that of all the questions that got asked, the one that I was sure was going to get asked didn't. And that was, what do you look like? When I originally started this channel, the whole reason that I called it Diamond Painting Anonymous was because I kind of wanted to be anonymous. I just wanted to share what I was learning, what I was excited about, the pretty things that I was doing with other people. But being able to do it in an anonymous way, where it's just my hands on the screen, made it a lot easier. So that's what I've continued to do. but I was just sure that somebody was going to ask what I look like. So excuse the hair because I need a haircut, but this is me. So now you all know what I look like. I think that's all the questions that I had. I think I've answered all of them. So let's finish up. Thank you so much to everybody who asked questions. I hope you guys found this entertaining and informative. If not entertaining, at least informative. That's it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for sticking around till the end of the video. Before you leave, don't forget to do all the things. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification icon so that you can be informed of future uploads. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching.